Hi, and welcome to another edition of Brilliant But Lazy. I'm Alan.
I'm Josh, and we were both excited to talk about this, but too cowardly to shave our beards into mustaches and fully commit.
I looked at myself in the mirror before this, and I was like, I should do it, but my wife will kill me. Um,
Yeah.
but yes, today we're taking a little bit of a turn from what we've talked about in the previous episodes. Usually it's been comic book stuff, comic book news, comic book movies. We want this show to be more just pop culture in general. And one of the things that Josh and I both love in pop culture right now, but haven't had a chance to sit down and podcast about yet, is the Apple TV Plus show Ted Lasso. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna talk Ted Lasso today, in preparation for the new season premiering a week from when we were recording this. So, and as being part of Victims and Villains, an organization that works with mental health through pop culture, Ted Lasso is something that I feel like we should have covered already, and we haven't. So we're going to talk about this here, and maybe I can see if Josh will put this out on the main Victims and Villains feed as well to help promote Brilliant But Lazy.
No.
Doing the behind the scenes stuff out loud on camera. It's fantastic. So, Josh, tell me a little bit about what drew you to the show Ted Lasso.
It was completely by chance, I believe, if I'm believing correctly, because Apple TV was just this thing that existed, but it was from Apple. It was like when Amazon Prime first started putting out their own content, like nobody really knew about it. Like it was just like, oh, you get it with your subscription, your Prime subscription, and Amazon Prime is so massive and money bags that it seemed like they weren't really fighting tooth and nail like everybody else to put out content. Well, then Apple TV did the same thing, and I think a lot of people got Apple TV with their new iPhone or whatever, and it wasn't really exclusive. Anybody could get it, but other than the people that got it automatically, not a lot of people initially were like flocking to the new streaming service that was Apple TV. But I think somebody had suggested defending Jacob as a show because Chris Evans was in it. And I was like, that's right. Apple TV has their own stuff. So I watched that show and I was like, this is great. What else is on here? And Ted Lasso and a couple other shows had just kind of just started. Like I wasn't there from day one, but I was there from pretty close to it. And I was like, Jason Sudeikis is funny. And I do recognize this character from the little ESPN shorts that he did back in the day. So let's check it out. And then I just fell in love with it, binged everything that I could initially, which was the first season, and then pulled my wife into the room and had her binge it again with me.
Yeah, I vaguely remember the ESPN sketches as well. I was like, oh, those seem fun. I've always liked Jason Sudeikis. I think his best work before Ted Lasso was the Mumford & Sons music video for Lonesome Wanderer. But what drew me to this is one day we got Apple TV included with like Apple Music, and I got like a bunch of iCloud stuff. It's like, I want to watch these shows that are on there. Let's give this a shot. And this was the show that we started with, and I was like, I'm really enjoying this. Like the show starts off like you think it's just going to be a Major League ripoff with the way they set up Ted's relationship with the sport of football and Rebecca's mentality for running the team. And it's not that at all. Like what drew me into the show was how likable all of the characters are or become. Just the constant positivity, like the believe sign, which we now have above us in the video if you're watching. and just the sense of humor is right up my alley. Like there's a bunch of dad jokes, like Ted and Higgins, like anytime they have a conversation and there's a dad joke involved, it just makes me so happy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I started watching it around the time season 2 started because I had heard a lot of good things about the show, and then started season 1 and was able to get caught up on season 2 to the point where we were waiting for new episodes to come out. Mm-hmm. So, and my wife and I ended up watching it separately. Like when I was in New York meeting you for the first time, I watched it on my iPhone in my Airbnb with headphones in for like one of the final episodes of season 2. And that's not something we usually do. Usually we can wait, but we're both like, no, we need to watch Ted Lasso so we can talk about it tomorrow on the phone. So, yeah.
I liked how when you go into this, it could go in so many different directions. You know, you've got this guy who's just almost annoyingly positive, like constantly positive, and you're like, what kind of show is this? Is it going to be the show where they just beat him down every episode until he burns, and that'll be the funny gag of it all? Is it, I just feel like there's so many shows that aren't this optimistic that you're just like telling yourself there's no way he can continue to be who he is throughout the show. And they prove you wrong. And he is this very optimistic character, this very like go-getter. But then you're like, okay, is it just going to be kind of like, he's just going to keep the lightheartedness and it's never going to really go that deep. We're just going to have these people that are always trying to get at him, but he never lets them. And then it hits you deep with like some other stuff that's like, oh my God, like this is supposed to be a comedy, but it's one of those comedies that throw in a drama episode every once in a while, and I'm crying over here, and it's like, it's those for some reason, comedians write the best dramas. Like there's so many good dramas that star comedians. It's crazy.
And I think one of the reasons that I was drawn to the show, like outside of the memes of like Ted and Roy Kent, was when I found out who was behind the show. Because of course you've got Jason Sudeikis like creating the show, but he worked with Bill Lawrence, who I know from Scrubs. And Scrubs is one of my all-time favorite comedies of all time. And that show also balanced the comedy with the drama and would have a dramatic episode and get serious and not just be silly and stool sample jokes all the time, even though they did a whole musical number about them. That show and then everything he's done since, I've really been drawn to because it has that balance. And I like that more than just like, yes, I like the straight up silly all of the time Simpsons, Family Guy kind of stuff. But I also like when you can give the comedic characters weight and gravitas and make them feel real. And I can't think of a single character on Ted Lasso that does not feel real. Like, sure, there are exaggerations of some characteristics, but at the end of the day, I can sit down and be like, each one of these characters is thought out and well developed and seems real.
Yeah, I'm looking up Bill Lawrence's history, and save for a few projects like Rush Hour and Whiskey Cavalier, he's got some good ones in there. He's even the executive producer on that new Shrinking show that Maddie really wants to watch with Harrison Ford and what's his face, Jason Segel.
Jason
and that
Sudeikis.
looks really good too.
I will say
it's
that
Jason Segel on that one.
Oh, Jason Segel. Yeah, sorry, too many Jasons. Shrinking is like a spiritual sister or brother to Ted Lasso.
Kind of seems like it.
If you like Ted Lasso, you'll like Shrinking because it's got Bill Lawrence behind it. Brett Goldstein's a writer on it. Harrison Ford is hysterical. Jason Sudeikis hits that balance of comedic and dramatic. And of
Jason
course, Jason Segel. Yeah, sorry. I have Jason Sudeikis on screen in front of me. That's why I keep doing that. At least I haven't said Jason Bateman yet.
That's true.
So anyway, Jason Bateman. Now, and Bill Lawrence cast his wife in it because she's in a lot of his shows that shoot stateside. Like she's not in Ted Lasso because I don't think she wants to travel to London. But Christina Miller, who I still know from the Drew Carey Show. So, but yeah. So if you haven't seen an episode of Ted Lasso, we've kind of been skipping around the big spoilers of everything. But the premise of the show is American college football coach is hired to coach a Premier League football club in Richmond, in London. And so he leaves his family in the Midwest and moves to London and starts coaching.
He goes from American football to British soccer.
Yes. Not knowing a thing about the other sport.
Right.
So he has his companion, Coach Beard, with him, who knows a little bit more about football and is like guiding him through the whole thing. But he's met with like the Brits being like, is this a joke? And they call him wanker, and no one believes he can do it. Even the team, like at first, doesn't believe that he can do it. I want to see how many times we can say believe this whole episode. But
that's the shallow premise of the original ESPN things. Is like, oh, this stupid American is coming over to do British soccer and it's football, but it's not the same football he knows. And why would he even be there? And the catch of the show is, well, the person that hired him is trying to tank the club. She got it after a divorce with her asshole husband Rupert, and it's his favorite thing, and she can't think of anything better than to burn it to the ground. And her first way to do that is to hire this American buffoon that knows nothing about the sport, and she believes that will destroy its legacy, its reputation, and ultimately just the club as a whole.
Yeah. And she has such, like, having rewatched the show now to prepare for the third season, Rebecca has such a great arc as a character because she starts off as such a great villain, but even early on you can see the wheels starting to change, like the tide starting to change for her, and just because of Ted's optimism. And like his attitude towards life that he puts out there into the world is very, like, it rubs off on a lot of people in this show. And she's the main one that it rubs off on first. I'm trying to figure out,
he's not dumb, like he's so optimistic and you know, he's so happy all the time. You would think that he'd be dumb. Like only a dumb person could be that happy. He's not. He might not know exactly why she brought him there, but he knows the obstacles, and he's, they throw him in front of, she throws him in front of a press, junket, like first day, just like a penguin to the sharks, and he takes it in stride. Like he's not going over there thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. So he's very optimistic, but he's not stupid. And I think that's part of the character that is inviting, because you're like, I don't think it would be as fun if he was just dumb,
Yeah.
like so optimistic that he's just stupid.
He's very good at his job. He, even in that first press conference, he knows that he doesn't know much about the sport, but he knows how to coach, and he goes in and uses his methods, some of them unorthodox, but they work. Like the lead Tasso maneuver. But yeah, he's very optimistic, very good at his job, very confident. But at the same time, there's you find out the reason that he takes the job in London, because it seems like a crazy thing to do, is because he's separated from his wife who wants a divorce. Yeah. So he's dealing with the mental anguish of being separated from his wife and their son, and giving her the space that she wants. That sets him off on a mental health journey that I have not seen any show or movie handle mental health as well as Ted Lasso has.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, he has his second in command, his Riker, in Coach Beard, is apparently single and able to go to another country with him, and he's his rock. He's got his own misgivings, which we eventually see some sides to, but you're always grateful that he's there with him. Like he is his number two in all things, and then Higgins slowly becomes the number three, and it's just I love seeing the relationships form over this, and the what's the group that
the Diamond Dogs.
The Diamond Dogs form, and how they incorporate more people into it, and it's good. I really like the progression of the show. Like there's we're coming up on the third season right now, and we've covered so much ground in the first two seasons, and it's really good. Now, I will say, if you go into this thinking, "Oh, I want to see some soccer," you're not going to get much. You're not going to get much of that. It is not goal the show or anything like that. It is more of a drama. But that's kind of the style of shows these days. There's zombie shows that's more drama than zombies, and this is a soccer show that's more drama than soccer. But it is entertaining to watch, and you really fall in love with it. And if you're able to binge it, it's hard not to just click to the next episode. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, sorry for the technical difficulties. I just realized I wasn't recording the video for this the whole time, but we got video now, so that's great.
Oh, great.
I'll just put a graphic up for the YouTube video.
There you go.
And do a thing at the beginning saying, "Hey, stay tuned. There's video." But yeah, it's so the show was always meant to be a 3-season story. They're telling the story that they want to tell in 3 seasons, which for a British TV show, that's about right. Like the show is American, but it's a British production. They shoot in London. You can visit the pub that he goes to. They actually made an Airbnb for the new season. Like you can stay there for like 25 quid a night or something.
Neat. It's not that much.
Yeah. But they have said that they haven't said this season is the final season, but they have said that this is the story that they want to tell, and they're open to spin-offs after this. But I think the Ted Lasso story is going to come to an end with season 3, and then you'll probably get like the Roy Kent show or Beard or the Keeley show. If you could have a spin-off for another character on the show to go for 3 seasons, who would you pick?
Oh gosh, I'm looking at the roster. I do like Roy, but he's I don't know if he could lead it. I wouldn't mind a buddy show like Roy and the Twat, and it would be him and Jamie Tart, doing like a buddy comedy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I like Trent Krim, but I don't think he could do his own. Maybe Sam. Sam could be an interesting story about his rise through the leagues and stuff like that. That could be fun. I don't know, man. I don't know that I really want a spinoff. I think I really like the core story with Ted Lasso as the lead. I like what's going on with Nathan, which we can talk about.
Yeah.
I like where we've come, and I just don't. It's like saying, you grew up with Friends, and which one do you want to see a show about and not the other ones, and I don't think I'd like to do that with this.
Well, yeah, and if you look at it, like the biggest example of a spin-off off of a ensemble show, like from Cheers, is you have 11 seasons of Frasier. And I don't think anyone thought the Frasier spinoff was going to run for 11 seasons.
Yeah,
but they were able to readapt the character into a new setting and new environment, and like do something completely different for the show, where he's not just showing up to a bar every night and drinking with the postman.
And now that I think about it, there was a spinoff to Friends. Joey did get his own show, and it was so forgettable. Like, it was bad.
It was two seasons of very bad, yes.
Yeah, it was filmed in the same quality as, like, 2.5 Men, and it just wasn't good. And I think it crashed and burned, so, yeah. Frasier was great, though.
It was. I would love to see, like, just a whole anthology show of just episodes like Beard's Night Out, where it's just weird.
Oh yeah,
like give me Atlanta, but with Coach Beard. Like, that's what I want. Yeah. So we're gonna probably get into some spoilers for Ted Lasso now. So if we haven't sold you on the show yet, we're not being paid by Apple. In fact, we pay Apple to watch it.
That's right.
If we haven't convinced you on the show yet, go check it out. You can at least watch the first episode for free on Apple TV without an account. So go check it out. It's definitely worth the investment. And
it'll put a smile. It's if you need some heartwarming, like, positivity in your life, it'll put a smile. Even the episodes in there that'll make you cry are heartwarming. They make you cry because they're heartwarming. So, if you need a break from the death and incest of House of Dragon, and you need a break from, the zombies of The Last of Us, both great shows, and you just need some wholesome positivity, Ted Lasso is your relief.
If you're tired of shows where Pedro Pascal is saving a child, watch Ted Lasso.
Yes.
So at this point, I think we're going to get into some spoilers for Ted Lasso. So, we talked a bit about the way the show handles mental health. And I think the prime example of that is Ted's panic attacks.
Yes.
Because the show has a certain style, and it breaks that. Like, rewatching it this time through, I paid very close attention to how it breaks its style when it comes to the panic attacks. The camera framework changes. What they do with the lenses and lighting is dramatically different every time he has one. And it just handles it so well. Like, it breaks away from the main story and then, like, shows you dramatically what is happening to him. Like, he doesn't know, but you can figure it out. How do you feel about the show, how the show handles mental health?
I like it a lot. I think it covers the angle of, we can't let this get out. We can't let the press know that the head coach of this soccer club, of this football club, is so unstable that he's having panic attacks. I like that there is this therapist, this Dr. Sharon, who he is very defensive against. Like, he's like, no, I have to. He has to try to therapy the therapist, like, he doesn't want it the other way, and she senses that, pretty quickly, and kind of makes him her project. And then even Rebecca, who is presented to us as the villain, as the person that's trying to destroy the club and destroy Ted Lasso, sees that he's having panic attacks and realizes it before he does, and that opens up a part of her heart to him. And I just like that. I like how these other characters come in and kind of want to surround him and support him and take care of him, and that's a bonding thing for it, and it's understandable, and it's about him accepting things, and accepting help. He's this super positive guy, and he's the coach, but he also has this negative mindset of the coach can't get help from other people. Like, I have to be the person the team relies on, not me also relying on the team. And I that breaks down over time, and I thought that was an interesting and well played out, fleshed out character development for him.
Yeah, and the show dives a bit into his past and why he is such an optimistic person and why he doesn't believe in quitting. And a lot of it stems from his father's suicide, where he found his father and was upset with him because he quit, and he doesn't believe in quitting, and that sets his whole mindset going forward into life. And while he looks all charming and happy and optimistic on the outside, like in the inside, he's fighting these demons of like, this is what, like, his origin story is a lot darker than you would expect it to be, and
but also relatable to many people.
Yeah, and very relatable, and which is why I'm surprised we haven't covered this with victims and villains yet, because it's right up our wheelhouse. But I think the way they use Dr. Sharon in season 2 to show his reluctance to go to therapy and talk to a doctor about his issues is great, because you see he's so against it at first, and then he slowly gets on board with it, and then you have this great character dynamic between the two of them. And I can't think of a character dynamic on the show that isn't strong. Like, you could to pair Ted up with any character on this show, and I can tell you what their relationship is, and like they work so well together. It's not like, okay, now these two are going to go off and have adventures and never talk to these two over here. Everyone kind of interacts, and it all comes back to Ted. And I think that, like, not many shows can do that successfully.
Yeah, it's a big ensemble, but they all get like great time. They don't always get featured as much as others in an episode, but yeah, I mean, somebody like Coach Beard, you just think is that kind of sideman, but then he gets his own episode, and it's a super interesting episode, and it's like, okay, and then you got Nathan's progression through the show, and then you have who you think are the main players. Like, we're always going to focus on the Roys and the Jamies, but the rest we won't. But then Sam gets this big thing, or Danny Roja gets this big, basically a whole episode dedicated to his superstitions, and it's just great. Like, it's a very well balanced show, and it's crazy because this is the type of show that I love, that knows its limits, knows it needs to have compelling stories in each episode. Because how many episodes are in a season?
They started off with 10. For season 2, they expanded to 12 episodes. So that's why we got the Coach Beard episode and the Christmas episode.
Yeah, and those were fun. Those were fun little mini, escapades into somebody's life. But it's still solid TV. Like, there's not a lot of filler in there. And you and me grew up in the times where shows got 22, 24 episodes a season, and maybe 8 of those were like quality episodes, and the rest was just filler, and this is an example of really balanced storytelling consistently throughout the show.
Even when you had a show like Friends, as the example, like, you had 24 episodes in a season, but even with the 6 of them, I can't think of a single Ross and Phoebe storyline that was just the 2 of them off the top of my head. But here, with 10 episodes, I can tell you like a storyline for Ted and each of the top 10 cast members of this show. Yeah. Like, it's so well balanced, and even like minor characters, people who don't have anything to do with the team, like the 3 fans who are always in the pub watching the show, like, they get their moment to shine. And he has his relationship with them, and they have their relationship with the team, and it's so good.
It is good. And everybody gets like their, like even someone like Jamie, not Twat, but Jamie Tart. You just like, he could have been just a one season dude, and then they move on from him, but they bring him back in an interesting way in the second season, and he rejoins the team and everything, and it's a redemptive arc from someone that you really didn't care for, but I think even at the end of the first season, like, Ted Lasso, even though Jamie's playing for the other team, like he still cares enough to like. I think they had like a conversation in the hall, and then he like put a note in his pocket or something like that he found on the bus. Just little things like that. Like, you know, I used to be your coach and I still care about you, even though things went this way. And then we see him come back, and I like that he came back. Like at first I was like, okay, he's on this, you know, he's doing the reality TV circuit. Like, can't we just focus on the team? And then it's a way to get him back on the team. And I like that.
Yeah. And I think the most interesting, Jamie relationship on the show isn't Ted and isn't his girlfriend Keely. It's his relationship with Roy Kent, the senior most player on the team, who's in season 1 is like the old man on the team, and Jamie Tartt's the young hot thing, like the rock star sports player, and
who idolized Roy as a kid, but is now trying to have his own time, and Roy kind of hates him for being the new hot stuff, you know, and kind of forcing him out. And yeah, it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it's the Men in Black thing of old and busted, new hotness. But their relationship, they start off as teammates and then never get along, and then they become Roy becomes a coach, and they don't get along. But by the end of season 2, they embrace each other, and it makes sense. We lost your video. Oh, there we go. They have a whole arc, and the groundwork's there from the beginning. Like, the one thing that I will say about the show only having 3 seasons is when they say they have the story they want to tell, they have a story that they want to tell for everyone, and it works. So you can see the groundwork early on for their relationship and where it evolves to. And then the most heartbreaking one and frustrating one for me is the Ted and Nate relationship. Nate, who starts off as the ball boy for the team and ends up becoming a coach. Like, Ted puts him under his wing early on and helps him rise through the ranks of Richmond Football Club. And by the end of it, Nate's very ungrateful for everything and feels abandoned by Ted.
Well, he feels abandoned. That's there's a lot of people. It's been a kind of a divisive thing. Like, how do you feel about Nathan? Because a lot of people at the end of the second season were like, "Fuck that guy." You know, he's horrible. I don't care for you. I'm not sympathetic. Like, how dare you do? Oh my God, he tore the sign. You know, get the fuck out. Like, how dare he? But, if you take a step back, I do like it because he is a flawed character. He's not one note, you know. He's not, he's got this secret agenda that you can go back and see through the first season. I think he's just, he starts off as this very unconfident person, and then Ted Lasso gives him a chance to shine, and he nails it. And then he's surrounded by this praise and support that he's never really had before. And he all of a sudden has this network, from the Diamond Dogs, from Keely, and from even Rebecca for dating and how to deal with restaurant staff. And he's just getting all this support. But then, Ted Lasso, being the person he is, he doesn't just support one person. He sees someone like Roy that needs a place and brings him on as a coach. And Nathan views it as abandonment. It's just Ted Lasso spreading himself too thin. There's so many project people that he has to take care of. And unfortunately, Nathan kind of gets shoved to the side, not on purpose, but he needs more support than some of these other people do. And then he reacts negatively and thus births this villainous Nathan at the end of the second season. I didn't hate him as much as some people did because I understood his journey, and I hope that there's a way to redeem it or wrap it up by the end.
Yeah, for me, it's easy for me to be like, oh, Nathan sucks. Like, I hate Nathan. But watching it again, like I just watched the finale again tonight, like he comes across as very narcissistic. Like it's, you don't have this photo of me in your office that I gave you for Christmas. He doesn't know that Ted has that at home in his bedroom. Like they show that, and it's very much like, I want to be the center of attention and I haven't been the center of your attention anymore. So now I'm taking it out on you because this is your fault. And like, I don't understand, like, and I also think part of it is Rupert whispering in his ear.
Yeah. That's for sure part of it.
Yeah.
Because he does have real skill. Like, Rupert didn't just bring him over to his new soccer club because just to piss off Ted Lasso. Like, Nathan is kind of this pseudo genius when it comes to strategy. He does have good ideas, but he's kind of like the firstborn, who got a lot of attention, and now there's other children that need attention, and he is reacting to it kind of childishly. But it's clear, like from the beginning, he doesn't have the self-confidence that these footballers do, in themselves. And I think that's why he goes more the childish route instead of the handling it is on his own route.
And he also doesn't react well to criticism. Like when he's reading the tweets about himself, like he doesn't react to the negative ones well
he
at
let
all.
that sink in. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he takes everything personally, and it's nice to have, like, he started off as such a positive character, and it was nice. It's nice to see like the switch, and they do it very well in season 2. Like season 2 opens with a shot of Nathan, and then it closes with a shot of Nathan, and it was their plan from the get-go. Like the fact that they have it planned out that well in advance. Like the whole finale, like the finale is very much a mirror of the season 2 premiere. With that, and then with Danny taking the goal.
Yeah.
And
I think the trailers for season 3 already kind of gave away some of Ted Lasso doing the same thing he did with Jamie Tart. While Jamie Tart was playing against him, he still kind of gave him encouragement and everything, just not as coach. And there's a small clip in the trailer where we see him and I'm guessing his son sitting in the audience and watching Nathan coach. And so I feel like, because at the end of season 2, he's kind of shocked. Like he really is like, I don't know where this is coming from. Like he's so blindsided by it. And which makes sense because he's doing so much. Ted Lasso spreads himself so thin.
Yeah.
But so I feel like maybe he'll take the weight of this and try to fix it in the 3rd season.
Yeah, and I feel like the stuff with Dr. Sharon probably pulled him away from Nate a lot more.
Yeah.
Because that's all set off by like Nate has his moment in the spotlight when Ted has his first panic attack at the games.
Right.
And like that sets Ted off on his therapy journey, and then Nate's on the rise, and like Ted misses a lot of things with Nate, like the way he's acting with some of the players and the staff that Beard sees, and Beard calls out, which makes Beard my favorite character, because the way he handles it is fantastic. Because he's just like, "I'll headbutt you, Nate." Like, but
yeah, he starts acting out against the players. He makes a move on Keeley. And then he does the ultimate thing and tries to he leaks the stuff to the press about the Lasso's panic attacks in a way to discredit his reputation. So but all of that just seemed childish. It seemed like a child lashing out,
Yeah.
and everything about him. He's dressing like his taller, older, more confident coworkers, and he's going after not just any girl that he couldn't get, but Rory's girl, or Jamie's former girl, and he's making choices that are not smart choices, even though he's shown to be a smart person, and it always felt childish, and a thing that a person just would think to do, but not like just because they're not confident in themselves to do something original.
And one of the most subtle things that the show does that just gets more and more ridiculous, but still believable, is Nate's hair. Like his hair is black throughout the whole show, and then once he starts getting attention, you start seeing grays show up, and then like you look at I have the season 3 poster up now. He's just gray hair now. Like it's like the stress of everything has turned his hair like white. So,
yeah, I get why a lot of people hate him, because they feel betrayed by his character. Like they've rooted for him in the beginning. I feel like he'll have some type of redemptive arc. The only true villain in the show is Rupert. And like they have yet to even try to tackle his story and give him another angle, and I think that's because it works. It works for him to be just that one-note villainous douche. But everybody else can have multiple angles, and including Jamie Tart. Like there is a switch from he's a pretentious douchebag to he might not be the smartest tool in the drawer, but he's an interesting character, and I feel for him, and there's things that he bonds with Roy and Ted Lasso over his dad issues, so I liked a lot of his redemptive arc in the show as well.
Yeah. Is there any moment on this show, like one of the things I like about the show so much, and I think it's part of it's because it's on Apple TV, is the use of music. Like they use a lot of music that I think every season has had a Rolling Stone song show up like 2 or 3 times.
Sure.
Is there any musical moment from the show that is your favorite? Because for me, it's from the episode Rainbow, where they use the Rolling Stone song "She's a Rainbow" for Roy going back to the stadium to become a coach, and
that was a strong moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way they edit the show to the music is very precise and not something you see very often. Because there's a line in that song with Mick Jagger where he says, "You see her dressed in blue," and then they just show on that cue Higgins' wife in blue, and like you have a nice moment with Higgins and Mrs. Higgins. Like it's not something and like there's another part where there's like a violin breakdown in that song, and they just focus on Nate to show you where he's at. And like you don't get that often. Like usually it's just music in the background, but this show specifically uses music as visual cues, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I'm on the spot right now, so I can't purposely think. And I haven't rewatched this since season 2 ended. It's the writing that stands out more in my mind, but I do remember liking, there's a groove to it, and the music does provide good flow, and so I'll probably rewatch it all again here right before season 3. But I can't think of a music number right now.
Okay. Well, there's always a theme song. You can always go with the theme song.
That's true, and it's a solid theme song, and it's a solid opening credits that is particularly awesome in the Christmas episode. I thought that was fun, the little claymation version of it.
Yeah. Well, have you seen the claymation short that they did?
Yes. That was fun.
Yeah. The theme song is done by Marcus Mudford, and he does the score for the show too, and they do a great job of using that theme in different styles. So a lot of it's like piano and guitar.
Yes.
And
it
it's
can
just
feel
like
upbeat at times, and it can feel sad at times. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those soundtracks that I just put on like when I'm working, and I'll either be productive or I'll just stop and just get sad for a moment.
Yeah.
But I started a new job in September, and the first thing that I hung up in my new office was a believe sign on yellow paper, because I just I have it there, and I don't usually like acknowledge it, but some of the students I work with were talking about Ted Lasso, and so like before we did our show that they do and I supervise, the one night I just tapped the sign before I went out of my office, and we had the best show ever. So now I'm like superstitious that's a thing now.
Nice.
But is there any like lines from Ted Lasso, any like moments that stuck with you, like motivationally, or like sayings that you've stolen from the show?
You go first and let me think of it. You should give me homework for these things.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have unironically used "Be a Goldfish" with my students. Yep. Like the whole idea of that is a goldfish has a very short memory, so you know this was a mistake. You know something was wrong there. Be a goldfish, forget about it, and let's move forward. I've used that. I've got a list here of 20 quotes, or how many quotes is it? Who does a list of 21 quotes?
Someone who works for BuzzFeed.
Our goal is to go out like Willie Nelson on a high.
Okay.
If God wanted games to end in a tie, she wouldn't have invented numbers.
Mm-hmm.
These are not.
Your body is like day-old rice. If it ain't warmed up properly, something real bad could happen. I like it. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing's inspiring. The whole, his whole mentality is inspiring. There's so many times where I think, like, especially with Jamie, where you could be like, nope, this is a bad seed, we're gonna write him off, but he takes everything as a challenge, and that's the whole thing, is to believe in yourself, and he does have a thing. Taking on a challenge is like riding a horse. If you're comfortable while you're doing it, you're probably doing it wrong. And there's like it never gets to cringe. The show isn't about cringe, but it is about like, how far can you stretch this positivity to attack whatever situation he's in, and he always pulls out of it. A way. He finds a way, and while not putting down the other person, and so I think that's always the most encouraging part of the show.
Yeah. One of my favorite, like even some of the fun quotes that he has on the show are kind of deep. Like, boy, I love meeting people's moms. It's like reading an instruction manual to why they're nuts.
Yes. Or this. Do you believe in ghosts, Ted? I do, but more importantly, I think they need to believe in themselves. That's like the theme for the whole show. Getting the individuals to believe in themselves, and it's true. Like every person on this show has something that they need to believe in in order to move forward, and I like that.
Yeah. I'm getting into quotes from other characters now. Coach Beard. I've been to Vegas many times. 1 night is good. 2 nights is perfect. 3 is too many. And then Roy's quote, I'm not going to say, but it's 4 letters and starts with the letter F. He's well known for that. And I've started using that word privately, like Roy Kent. Like my voice just goes, like it happened to me yesterday. I'll tell you about it after we get off here. But yeah,
here's a Theodore Lasso quote: "Living in the moment, it's a gift. That's why they call it the present."
Yeah,
I like it. That's your ding. That's your ding quote.
Yep.
Yeah. That's like a vision quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any hopes for Ted Lasso season 3 since it's coming out soon?
Um, let's see here. I hope Keely and Roy figure out a way to exist. I feel like they were on their arc in season 2 was so great, but it ended in such a funky way in the end. Like Roy really started getting into her, and wanted her to come with him to this like vacation because it's his off time, and
Mm-hmm.
but her story arc outside of the relationship, it wasn't really relationship based in season 2. It was all about her embracing her ability to become an entrepreneur and really grow herself, and become this business. And by the end, she's like, it might be your off time, but my business is kicking off. I can't just go on vacation. And that kind of leaves them in a weird spot at the end of season 2. So I hope there's some rekindling of that fire, and we don't get this love triangle in season 3 between her and Jamie and Roy and whatever.
Yeah, it it shows you how like there's a whole episode where you see how codependent Roy is to her,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think he's as aware of it for most of the show as the audience becomes, especially in that final moment with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see where they go with that. Um, the whole Rebecca and Sam storyline is fascinating to me. I want to see what happens with those two. Sam has become like one of my favorite characters because he can, like, he's always smiling. He's always positive, and even when he has to do something like protest the team sponsor, like it goes over well with everyone because he comes at it with such a positive light. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's not because of Ted. Like that's just who he is as a
Yeah,
person.
he's a young,
So,
innocent version of Ted. Yeah, he doesn't have as much life experience and heartache as Ted, but he's got
yeah.
that young optimism and that big smile.
Mm-hmm.
And I really did like him and Rebecca and that back and forth throughout the second season. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Keely though, Keely's probably like my favorite character. I feel like she's the one that could have been easily the most one note, one dimensional character in the show. The girlfriend, the girlfriend model, who, ends up, not dating one and dating another. She could have just been that, and she's so much more. And she's, and then she just bounces between characters that she's supportive of and that she helps grow. She has this great back and forth with Ted. She's got this great back and forth with Rebecca and Roy, and even helping Jamie grow after they're done, and then you see Jamie in his still immaturity take that as a maybe we're getting back together type thing and almost screw things up, but she's smart enough to not let it go that far, but I really
Yeah.
like, there's so many layers to Keely, and she is so pivotal. And then she even has stuff with Nathan, she's just so pivotal to so many other roles, and I just like that they wrote that much of her into the show.
Yeah. And I think her friendship with Rebecca is probably one of the best female friendships that I've seen on screen. Because I was just reading about Parks and Recreation when they created that show. They wanted the main focus to be just a female friendship, and that's why you have the Leslie Knope and Ann Perkins relationship. And Rebecca and Keely remind me a lot of that, but very much less jokes all the time. Like they do get real with each other, and like
Yeah.
I think my favorite Keely moment in season 2 is in the finale when she sits down to talk to Higgins because everyone else is busy, but he's like still excited to be like, I'm glad you came to me. Like, this is great. Like, what can I do for you? I want to see more Higgins. Like every time that man is on screen, I'm like, I think Higgins is my favorite. Like I don't want to be Ted because Ted is a high bar to set, but if I can be a Higgins, I'll be a Higgins.
Yeah, he's fun.
Yeah.
We see a little glimpse. He brings his whole family to a game. We see little, ways that he stands up to Rebecca. he walks out on Rebecca and makes her realize that she needs him, and
Grows a soul patch.
That's right. That's right. And wasn't he like playing the cello or something when she goes over to his house? He's playing
An upright bass.
That's right, an upright bass. Yeah, like Soul Higgins. Yeah, he's good. He's great. And Rebecca and Keeley was set up to be enemies at one point, because Rebecca was like leaking things to the press and everything, and that's just how this show, you expect it to go this way, and then it doesn't go that way. So I think a lot of people. Well, I think there's two camps. One camp knows there's no way in hell Ted Lasso isn't going to try to redeem the relationship with Nathan. But then there's the other camp that's like Team Lasso versus Team Nathan head to head. And that's going to be the whole, he's going to be the new villain of the show. I really don't think that's going to happen. But I honestly don't know what season 3 is going to be about. I feel like the Nathan thing as an opposing coach is not going to be the primary focus of season 3. But I have no idea the direction they're going to go, and I'm happy with that. I don't know how many trailers they've released. I've only seen one, and that's all I want to see.
Yeah.
But I'm excited because I don't know.
And even that trailer, they show a lot, but you only have 3 lines of dialogue.
Yeah, it's more feeling based.
Yeah, it's more feeling based with the Rolling Stones again. But the first trailer, they were like the teaser when they announced the date, is just a bunch of people making signs in the locker room. And I'm like, this is perfect. Like, I don't need anything else but this. And there was some behind the scenes stuff with the new season, which is why it took so long. We haven't had new Ted Lasso in over a year and a half now. So they wanted to, Jason Sudeikis wanted to get it right. And he was also dealing with some stuff in his personal life. So hopefully they got it right. Like, I'm excited to see how the show ends up going, and if this is the last season, I hope they end it strongly. I haven't seen anything yet to show me that they won't. So
yeah, well, I mean, I didn't know there was some behind the scenes stuff that they were working. I mean, I saw the Sudeikis and Olivia Wilde stuff, and that's just been pepper cake. That is just like you're just he's Ted Lasso and Sudeikis. Sudeikis presents himself as just this chill, outgoing dude. Like every single one of his roles has always been that way. His SNL stuff, all of his stuff. He's always the chill, cool guy. And so you just beg he's not this dickish villain in real life. And some of the stuff that was coming out with him and Olivia was kind of threatening that persona. And I was like, oh gosh, this could be really horrible. This is like if Robin Williams turned out to be a douchebag. Just, there's this persona that you attach to certain celebrities that it's that old saying of never meet your heroes, because you really don't want that to be dispelled. And I don't think it ever really got dispelled, but it was on the verge a couple times. Like there was always something that stopped it from going too far, but there was options. The
biggest thing for me was when Olivia Wilde was served with divorce papers during a presentation at CinemaCon.
And people were like, did he tell the guy to do that? Like,
that's not how serving papers works.
Right.
Like, he didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, thank God. Because if it ever came out that he did that and tried to sabotage her, it would be so bad.
Yeah, and you look at the parallels between his life and Ted's life, where they both go over to London during a divorce period. So like, you can see that he's drawing on some of that.
Sure.
Because it's there. Like some of what he's expressing isn't acting. Like it's real stuff. And I don't know the details
and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know the details with him and Olivia Wilde. I think Harry Styles is involved and ended up spitting on Chris Pine, but I don't know the details. But you can see that there's some anguish there, and he's drawing from something. And it just helps the show. Like it improves his performance, and it's great.
Well, this show is his baby, and it is an amazing success. I mean, I think I think all people want to have something like this, and it's crazy how many comedians do. You know, like he's got this. What's his name? His SNL alum has Barry.
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. Who had who is the guy that did oh crap. He did all the stupid Batman skits for his show. He had like it was like dumb Batman. Pete something.
Pete Holmes?
Pete Holmes. His show was amazing. What was his show?
That was
Crashing. His
Crashing.
show was Crashing. And that was an amazing show. And that was another, comedian does a comedy show that's really a drama and not really a comedy show. And it's got all these comedy legends and it's based, so loosely or something on a part of their life. And it's like, gosh, these people, but that has always been the thing. I think Robin Williams like shattered that bubble for so many people that comedians are always funny and their lives are always a laugh and there's nothing dark behind them, and once people realized that was the case, then they started gravitating towards these comedians that do have fucked up lives or that do have something that they're willing to share, like their testimony, like this is my funny side, this is my real side, and people connect with that. And that's why these shows do so well. And Ted Lasso is just another mountain of a success in that genre. It's kind of a sad thing that it's a genre, comedians doing dramas, but it really is at this point.
Yeah, and I feel like Ted Lasso leans, like it's right on the borderline of comedy and of drama. Like it's going to get nominated for all the comedy categories and win them for every season that it's nominated, like it has been. But it's got such it goes back to the Scrubs thing. Like it's the same thing that I loved about that show, where you'd have the silly humor with JD and Turk, but you'd also have like the Brendan Fraser episode where, spoilers, he dies, and like the whole relevation of that. So,
well, and I think Scrubs was part of a day and age where like studios didn't trust audiences to appreciate a drama as much, a drama with sprinkled in comedies. They were safer to do a full-on comedy with sprinkled in drama, and now it's the reverse. You have more shows like Ted Lasso that's one thing and it's sprinkled in with comedy, but it can be more of a drama and people can relate to it and yet not be afraid of it. And that's why it succeeds. It's just so well done.
Yeah.
So,
anything else you want to touch on before we wrap this up?
Nope. I think this is a good show. I think if you're feeling down, if you're in a show hole, if you haven't watched this show, I love sad shows. I love dark shit. I love murder mysteries. I love death and gore and horror shit. I love all those type of things. And Apple TV's got so much of it. You want something depressing and dark as fuck, watch Severance. But then when you're done with Severance and you're like, God damn, that was good, but man, I feel like I'm in a dark, deep hole right now, put on Ted Lasso and it will bring you out of that hole. And that's why it's so good, because it's refreshingly optimistic in a time when you just don't expect that much optimism from one character and from one show. So it's very refreshing, and it's good for a palate cleanser if you need something to clear your TV binge.
Yeah. This has become one of our go-to, like, let's just watch Ted Lasso because we had a long day shows. Like, put it on to like just refresh for the day and relax. Which is why my wife has probably watched it 6 times the whole way through.
Yeah, it's good.
So,
it's good. It's good to watch. Yeah.
All right. I think that about does it for this edition of Brilliant But Lazy. Make sure to check out the Horrific Hope Film Festival coming up in April in Winchester, Virginia, April 14th and 15th at the Alamo Drafthouse. I will be there. Josh may be there. It's going to be a fun event, so come check it out. You can get tickets
Tickets are on sale.
Tickets are on sale. You can get them at victimsandvillains.net. And until next time, for Brilliant But Lazy, I'm Alan.
I'm Josh.
And be a goldfish.